Hi Bears, welcome to the next tournament analysis video. This is going to be on the tournament that happened on February the 8th. And in first place, we got LawnMowingBear. Who is LawnMowingBear? Is this the first time we've heard about him? Well, that's essentially Horsey Goes Lay. He's been bearified now, so welcome LawnMowingBear. In second place, we have BearBoyBear. Welcome back, BearBoyBear. And in third place, we have Justice JK with a rating of 531, but definitely played much better than that. We're going to look at 3 games today. I'm going to try and go by very quickly. We're going to look at 2 games from Justice JK. All right, first game we're going to look at the craziest game of the tournament by far. So I'm going to go pretty quickly. E4, E5, Knight F3, Bishop C5, Queen F6. So if anyone watched my checkmate in 4 video, you would know that if you put the bishop out here and the queen out here, you're attacking the pawn twice, and if there was no knight here, then this would be checkmate. That would be checkmate in 4 moves. But LawnMowingBear's done the right thing. He's put both knights out here, and you can punish SpoolBear here by just bringing the knight out here with tempo. You're attacking these 2 things at the same time. But LawnMowingBear is playing very solidly as he does. Sometimes though you can sort of break the solid rules of the opening and just move with tempo. But anyway, they castle, well, SpoolBear castles, LawnMowingBear trades a piece and then brings the knight out here. Now, you might be a bit worried for LawnMowingBear here because these pieces here haven't really been developed. He is going for a little bit of an adventure here. Perhaps he should be developing a bit more first, but let's see. Because right now he's thinking, oh, I've won the rook in the corner. This is fantastic. SpoolBear, what an idiot. But SpoolBear is saying, listen, I got my knight here on a really nice square, which is hard to deal with. Now I've got my bishop out here. This is a pin. The knight can't move because the queen is under attack. And yes, you can take my rook in the corner. But, well, this is a very creative move by SpoolBear. Because I guess what he's thinking here is if white does take the pawn, well, now this whole line has been opened. Black could bring a rook here. Yeah, the computer still says that that white is fine. But do you know why it says that white is fine? Because white has to play the move Queen C1, which is so ugly looking. So SpoolBear is just playing very practically right now. Just develop. Well, in the game, LawnMowingBear doesn't take the pawn. He pushes, they trade, and now you'd be thinking, okay, after SpoolBear takes the knight here, LawnMowingBear can just take the queen and then take the bishop. And at the end of the day, yep, you can trap the knight here. The knight's not going to get out. But after something like this, take a breath, and white has 2 rooks and a bishop. Black only has 1 rook and a knight. You can even simplify it even more. White's just better. So it's pretty simple there. You just had to trade everything. But here, LawnMowingBear didn't feel like doing that. LawnMowingBear felt like taking a pawn all the way at the edge of the board. These 2 pieces here, they're not even on the battlefield, right? They've left their king absolutely helpless. They've gone to fight in someone else's war. Mercenaries, perhaps, because now after queen takes pawn, this rook is stuck. It can't come here because the queen will take it. If it comes here, then the bishop can take it, right? Well, yeah, the bishop can take it, but if you see here, as the computer says, it's M3, which is mate in 3 moves, checkmate in 3 moves. So you guys try and pause the video here, or try and do it quickly. Try and find a forced checkmate in 3 moves. It's not that hard. Well, you can sort of unknowingly fall into it because it is just checks. But it's a little geometric sequence. And it's involved with the bishop here cutting off the king escaping. First you give a check here. The king can't come up here because of this bishop. Can't come here. Only move is this. Now You could play something like this. This is a nice pin. This is just adding insult to injury. But anyway, this is the checkmate. Now you bring the queen back. Now again, this bishop is stopping the king from moving anywhere. The only move is rook back here. And then this would be checkmate. So if you saw that, good job. Now, what did SpoolBear do in the game? SpoolBear gave the check. And of course, Red Nomad Bear had to block. But now SpoolBear takes the pawn here. And Red Nomad Bear, instead of just getting rid of the bishop, maybe some of you guys also noticed that the bishop was under attack. Or didn't notice that the bishop was under attack because you're so focused on other things, and that bishop took the knight a few moves ago. So it does happen that you sometimes forget pieces can be taken, especially when you're deep in the source, like both players are right now. But again, Red Nomad Bear is just taking pawns. He's fighting someone else's war, definitely, right now. We can accuse him of this. And SpoolBear, yeah, that's a normal looking move. You're attacking the pawn here. But Red Nomad Bear now takes the bishop. Still, computer says black is winning. But now no. SpoolBear, he's very romantic in terms of his play style. Loves to sack pieces in beautiful ways. But here, unfortunately, he's got nothing. He's running out of ideas. And Red Nomad Bear here has got himself a nice little comfortable thing. And after rook to e7, it's checkmate in 3 moves for white. So try and calculate 3 moves, 3-move checkmate for white now. This checkmate's probably a bit funner. It looks more aesthetic. So first move's pretty obvious, but you have to calculate the next 2. And it ends with a very nice geometric move. So first move is queen takes knight, check. Next move, rook check. These are only moves. The king could only move there. Now the king only has 1 move, which is here. And the move you had to see was queen all the way in the corner. That's checkmate. The pawn is blocking this. The knight is blocking this. The king is stuck. So that's pretty beautiful. You might have been thinking knight back here, which is, I mean, it's completely winning because it's a fork. You're attacking the queen, the knight. Everything's winning. In the game, Red Nomad Bear brings the knight down here first. Allows black to take the rook. Still completely winning though because white takes the rook here. Gives a check. Now it's checkmate in 2 moves. Checkmate in 2 moves. After check here, black only has 1 move for the king. And then this would be checkmate. I say would be because in the game, white allows the black king to come a bit close. And now white allows the queen to give a check. It's a bit annoying, isn't it? Especially after h4. The pawn's coming down the board. What is Red Nomad Bear going to do? He brings the bishop back, attacking the queen. That's great. Take the pawn. Take the knight. Well, that's a queen, isn't it? Is SpoolBear? No, he pushes the pawn. The king can't stop the pawn from promoting. How is white going to stop the pawn from promoting? Well, white plays queen here. This seems to do the trick. Or you could have just taken the pawn. But anyway, now king here. All white has to do is give a check. Pick up the pawn or do whatever. This pawn isn't going anywhere. This pawn can never be pushed to the end because the queen is just looking at it. It's going to take it. The only way that the pawn is going to make it to the end, the only way the pawn is going to make it to the end is if this pawn goes all the way down here. But that's not going to happen. All right? It's not going to happen. Red Nomad Bear's going to see it. All he has to do, just give the check. You can even now promote, give a check. Red Nomad Bear. I hope you're having a hard night sleeping right now, because, yeah, tossing and turning. How could you let that happen? And by the way, SpoolBear, just promote to a rook. That's even more beautiful. But look at this final position. Fantastic. Okay, that was the craziest game, wasn't it? Next, I'm going to try and make this not go for 30 minutes. Let's look at this game. Justice JK against LawnMowingBear. Now, I'm going to preface this and say that before this game, LawnMowingBear thought that Justice JK was just another player rated 500, and LawnMowingBear, just fresh off his bearification, he's feeling great with life right now. He's going to do something called the Bong Cloud, which is bring the king up. Might as well come up here as well, why not? He's only rated 500. I'm LawnMowingBear, I'm rated 1800. But what LawnMowingBear found out after the game is Justice JK is a 6-year-old. And keep that in mind for the rest of this game, that a 6-year-old is playing with the white pieces, because he plays pretty well. This is great. You don't need to try and checkmate the king immediately and give checks all the time. Just develop, because black's wasted moves. Computer says here, +5, it's winning. Here you'd give a check. You develop the bishop with tempo. You can castle. The king's still going to be stuck in the middle of the board. But Justice JK is thinking, if I can trade pieces here, then I'm going to just be able to take advantage of the fact that the black king is misplaced. C3, very solid. Pushing the pawn here. But now the king starts to move back. Now the king starts to move back a bit closer to home. Yes, computer still says that white is winning, but guys, if you haven't noticed, look at where all of white's pieces are here. They're all on the first rank. Black's going to bring this out. Black's got a bishop in the middle. The queen is in a pretty active position. You've got two attackers to this pawn. Look at all these colors and arrows. It's not so simple as the computer says. Now, this is a nice little tactical try by Justice JK. Some of you might not be really understanding why. Well, this bishop would be giving a check to the king, but this pawn is in the way. If only white could move the pawn, and it would be check. Not only that, if white moves the pawn, it's going to be attacking the queen. So if black plays something like this, that's a check, and it's an attack on the queen at the same time. So, very cool tactic by Justice JK, by a 6-year-old, guys, a 6-year-old. That's creative. LawnMowingBear, in his typical, killing kids' dreams style, plays the blockading move. Justice JK brings the knight out. Now he's getting pieces developed. This is good. You're attacking the bishop. Where's the bishop going to go? Come back. But loses the advantage here, does Justice JK. What you need to play in a position like this, you don't necessarily want to start pushing the pawns. Now the knight's going to jump around, and you're actually looking at this square with check, and that's not good. Just develop the next piece. Now you've added an extra defense to this pawn. Next, maybe you bring the queen up here, and then you have these two pieces looking at this pawn, and then you're going to castle, and development is really the most important thing here. In the game, you attack the queen, but the queen just takes the pawn. After check, the king's moving around again. He's a slimy one. This knight fork happens again. It seems this knight fork happens in every tournament with the bears. But first, before taking the rook, you can give a check. Why not? Now attack the knight, because now this rook is going to come in as well. The king comes here, very cozy on this square. Now you get the check and checkmate. So LawnMowingBear, played well. We can say that objectively, played well. The fact that he managed to bring his king all around the board and created still a pretty beautiful game. But really, he took advantage of the fact that Justice JK had all his pieces undeveloped at this stage of the game. So, development is key, guys. Development is key. Don't let players like LawnMowingBear get away with this. And the last game we're going to look at is another Justice JK game, and it's between Jacko Cat Bear, the Canadian imposter. But he's a good player. He's a good player. He did well this tournament. E4, E5 again. This is the third E4, E5 game. Knights come out. Jacko Cat Bear likes having this setup. It's called a fianchetto, where the bishop comes inside this little triangle. I think he played it in almost all of his games. So, nothing crazy here. They're playing solidly. Justice JK now that he's got most of his pieces developed, which he should have done last game, now you can start making some threats. And the threat here is on the f2 pawn. How does white defend the f2 pawn? Well, if you would have seen in the checkmate in 4 move video I made just recently, that black might try and think, oh, this is great. I've won the rook and the pawn for my 2 pieces, but white's just much better developed, and black has not improved their position. That's the main thing. Has black improved the position or not? If not, then don't go for it. Okay, so white just needs the castle in the game. White just gives up a pawn, and this is how. You take and then take. You're attacking the queen, and you're attacking the bishop. Maybe some of you would not have seen that the bishop was under attack. You might have played something like this. That would give up the bishop. But Jacko Cat Bear is no slouch. As you'll see here, he's about to come up with one of the greatest tactical sequences that you've ever seen, and it starts with this. Knight takes pawn. Yes, Justice JK just gave up a pawn here. Could have played something like just check here and then castle. You're up a pawn, you can start to trade pieces, because white doesn't have any attacking threats, really. But black is now for development, but allows something pretty great, and even some masters wouldn't even consider this move, because it's crazy that after knight takes, you win the knight, and you're thinking, huh? Did Jacko Bat just calculate all of that? Did Jacko Bat just calculate knight takes? Oh, let me put on a Canadian accent. Oh, hey there, buddy. Knight takes, rook takes, and then check, and I win the knight. Well, if Justice JK plays Queen f6 here, then it's game over, because now the queen is actually defending the knight. And this is a nice interjecting move. But the fact that I think Jacko Cat Bear, I'm going to say that he saw it. It's just amazing. I mean, because no sane player would just give up the knight here for no reason. Maybe he thought that he's going to get some nice open lines and it would just work out for him. Like, oh, I'm going to bring the rook here, eh? But then probably at this point he realized, there's actually a queen check. Who knows? But in the game, black didn't find the interjecting queen move, and black played this. Now, Justice Jacko Cat plays the right move, queen check. You're attacking this as well. And Justice JK, a 6-year-old, guys, remember, 6, finds the right move. You retreat the queen back, block the check, and defend the pawn. But now Jacko Cat plays a very good move here, which is knight here. It's good because it's tricky, and it's got a crazy idea here, and it's it happens in some positions that you can give a check with a knight, and the queen cannot move to take the knight, because if the queen moves here, then this white queen is going to take the king. So the queen is actually, it can't move from this line. And of course, black cannot come here. That would just be a free queen. Black only has to come here, has to only come here. And now you bring the rook here, and this queen is gone. The queen cannot take here again because now the pin is on this file. Black would have to take this. And it would be okay if not for the fact that white has this check and they're going to win the bishop next. So, I mean, Jacko Cat is just playing out of his skin right now. Amazing tactical things. But does he see knight e7? No. He plays the rook move first, which also is a natural move. You're attacking the queen with tempo because you're bringing your rook into the game. Computer says only real way to save this is to play bishop here. Okay, but in the game, black plays this. They're probably thinking, you know, an eye for an eye. I'm attacking your queen. You're attacking mine. You can take me. I can take you. And then, you know, it's going to be one of those endgame grinds. But here, now that you got the rook here, sorry, this is now checkmate. And this is just a free queen. And it's so beautiful because even though you're attacking the queen, you give a check with the knight, and the queen cannot take the knight because if the queen takes the knight, then it moves off of this diagonal. Even though this diagonal is controlled by a queen which is under attack, that very same turn, black still can't take the knight. So if that makes sense. But in the game, do you play knight e7? You play this move, which actually loses a piece, because after the dust settles, this is the endgame we have, and I'm going to try and breeze through it. What are the assets? What are the liabilities? Well, white just wants to get the pawns moving, and something you guys got to always keep in mind is that it is a draw if it is just a king and a bishop or just a king and a knight. That's a draw. So if all the pawns were traded, it's a draw. So what happens here? They trade one set of pawns, and now Jacko Cat Bear does the right thing, which is bring the king in. Bring the king close to the action. Justice JK, with this check, he was controlling this, but now he lets the king in. Can just take the pawn here, but decides to give another check, and now the king comes up. And now Jacko Cat Bear needs to play pawn up here. And next move, you're going to come here, and you're gonna try and take this pawn, even if, let's say this, and let's say you're gonna swap pawns. Now white has two connected pawns on the edge of the board. They're going to create problems, and in a practical game, I might actually be favoring black, because black is going to be the one that has to find the right moves, whereas white's plan is pretty simple. You just push the pawns. You bring your king close to the pawns and you push them. But in the game, Jacko Cat Bear trades this pawn, and the difference here is that these are not connected, they are separated, and they can't help each other, because look at this. They can just be blockaded like this, and they can't move anywhere. Just think about with connected pawns and connected pass pawns, which means that there's nothing in front of them, no other pawns in front of them. Think about it like the pedals on a bike. One goes up, one goes down, and they take turns, and eventually they'll just run up the board, and black might have to sacrifice a piece to stop them queening. That's how dangerous they come up, and every step up they take, they just exponentially gain in power. But when they're separated like this, they can't move. They can't help each other out. They're just completely blockaded. But in the game, right now, white has got no real progress. Black's got a nice little setup here where white can't infiltrate. because if white ever pushes the pawn here, well, black's just going to take the pawn. But at the same time, you can also say that black doesn't really have a plan. How's black going to win? So are they going to repeat moves? Is it going to be a draw? Oh, Jacko-Cat Bear once more. Now he moves the king back. Justice JK takes the pawn. And now we have this position. So Jacko-Cat Bear can create great chances. Very, very unique chances with a move like this. And now Justice JK, black in general here, might be wanting to get the king in the middle. Might be thinking, bishop here is doing a great job. Let me just move the king out here. And now if white plays something like this, they have a very good practical try. And practical, it's like in a real game scenario, what do I think my opponent is going to do? And what should I be doing to capitalize on that? If I think my opponent is going to be worried foremost about the bishop, then I can play this, and they're going to move their bishop, and now I'm winning the game. Because now I come here, and now there's no way to stop this pawn coming. So you might as well go for this. You might as well hope that they worry about their bishop. What does black have to do here? Don't worry about the bishop, just take the pawn. Because look how much closer black is to the pawns here. White's all the way up here. Black's going to take all the pawns first. You don't really need to calculate that. White ended up giving away the pawn, and now there's no hope. Even though black can give up the pawn, the right technique, which a 6-year-old has learned or remembered or discovered, is that if these two pieces are defending each other, and even though white has done the sort of correct thing here, which is put the pawns on the opposite square as the bishop so that they cannot be taken by the bishop, when you get to this point in the game, nothing's going to save you, because white can never take these with the king, and all black has to do is come in and take the pawns. And it might take a bit of time. Here's the first pawn. And now, just wait, take it. And then the pawn is pushing. That's how quickly the pawns disappear in the game. Jacko-Cat ran out on time. So it was a timeout victory for Justice JK. The 6-year-old, well done, very well done. He doesn't make many blunders. And that's, a lot of young players are just very aggressive, and they don't think before moving, which is definitely what I was like when I was younger. But Justice JK is playing very maturely. Now, something I want to show you, if you've stuck around for this long, thank you. We're going to have a look at the case when, you know how I said if it was a bishop and a king, then it would be a draw? Well, this is what would happen if black also had a pawn and it was still a draw. Okay, let me spend a bit of time changing the board around. I'll be right back with you. Okay, welcome back. So here's a position with a king, a bishop, and a pawn. And computer says it's a draw. This is a theoretical draw. Why is it a draw? If the file that the pawn is on, so this, if it ends, like if the promotion square is on the other color of the bishop, then it's a draw. If this pawn was on this file, and it has to be the edge, it has to be the edge ones. If the pawn was on this file, and it would come all the way down here, it's not a draw. Black's winning because this square is actually protected by the bishop. It's white. It ends in a white square, and the bishop is on a white square. Now, how does white make the draw? White needs to just run all the way to this promotion corner. Don't come up Don't come up. Come down. And you don't really need to ask why. Just do it. Because, okay. Just run down and just hide. Just go to these 2 squares. If they give a check, just come down, just stay here. And again, if something like this happens, it's stalemate. Stalemate. Because white wants a draw. All right, so let's say that, you know, the pawn gets pushed all the way. Let's say king comes here. Don't run out, stay in the corner. Now what's black gonna do? It could be stalemate soon. If this pawn is pushed, that's stalemate. King comes here, that's stalemate. If black moves here, you come up here, and what's black gonna do? Nothing. Just stay, just sit. That's stalemate. So theoretically, stay in the corner, don't move out of the corner. Just stay within reach of these 2 squares, back and forth, back and forth. That's if the pawn ends on this square that is a different color in the corner, that is a different color from this bishop. All right, hope that's instructional. Thanks guys for watching. Sorry it was long again, but this last game, it was pretty interesting endgame. And Jack, Rook, Cat, Bear, seeing that sequence with knight takes f7, rook takes, and then the queen on f2 check, queen takes d4. Well done, well done. So see you next time.